Hello, dear ones. Coach Granny here. Let me ask you something. Have you ever looked at something happening in your life and thought, how did I get here? Why do certain situations seem to repeat themselves? Why do some conditions improve while others stay the same? Most people believe it's just circumstances. But what if the real cause is something much closer to you than you realize? What if your thoughts are quietly shaping the conditions of your life? Today, we're going to talk about the relationship between thoughts, the mind, and the conditions we live in. For those who may be joining me for the first time, welcome to Coach Granny Speaks. Here is where we take a little time to slow down, reflect on life, and talk about the kinds of ideas that help us grow mentally, spiritually, and emotionally. My goal is always to keep things simple, thoughtful, and practical so that what we talk about here can actually help you think seriously about your life and the direction it's going. And today's message is about something powerful, your thoughts. Before we go further, we need to talk about principles that govern the universe, like law, cause and effect, and conditions. Law remains throughout all nature, governing all things, both things we see and things we don't see. Law is not physical or material, it's mental and spiritual. In order for things to not be chaotic, all is governed by law. It's always mental and man must obey. For example, I'm talking about laws that govern the countries or the businesses, the families, and friends. Let's start with cause. Everything that happens has a cause behind it, and every cause eventually produces an effect. So then, everything you see in the world is cause and effect. Effect is the result of the cause. It doesn't make itself, it's held into place by mind. Nature works it this way, the universe works it this way, and our lives work this way too. In our life conditions, we are the cause. We live in mind, and it returns to us only what we think into it. Many people believe life simply happens to them, but when you begin to understand the relationships between thoughts and the mind, you start to see that many of the conditions in our lives have deeper causes. Here is something very important to understand. Your thoughts and your minds are not exactly the same thing. They work together, but they have different roles. For instance, the mind governs the body in our lives. It governs the functions of the body. It influences many parts of our lives, like personality, circumstances, health. But thoughts speak to the mind, govern conditions, and decide whether they are successes or failures. And the mind takes those patterns and begins to build according to them. In a sense, your thoughts are the blueprint, and the mind is the builder. What you build is what you get. And whatever the mind builds eventually begins to appear in your life as your conditions. When I say conditions, I simply mean your state of being, your effects, your circumstances, your experiences, the patterns or things that show up in your life. Sometimes people say things like, that's just my luck, or that's just the way things happen, or that's just life. But when we begin to look at life through cause and effect, we start asking better questions like, how did this condition come to be? What thoughts might have helped to create this situation? What patterns have I been repeating in my mind? Another thing to remember is that we're living in two worlds at the same time. We live in the outer world, the material world of everyday life, but we also live in an inner world, the world of thought, the world of mind, and the world of spirit. And many times what happens is the inner world begins shaping what we see in the outer world. We appear to be drawn or overwhelmed by materiality. The conditions of life often begin with the patterns of our thinking. Years ago, people began talking about positive thinking. They said, if you think positive thoughts, positive things happen. If you think negative thoughts, negative things happen. At the time, many people didn't understand why. But when you understand how thoughts speak to the mind, it begins to make sense. The mind builds according to the patterns and thoughts it receives. So the thoughts you repeat shape the conditions you experience. Now, this brings us to something very important: responsibility. When we understand that thoughts shape our conditions, we begin to realize something powerful. Every person is in the world of his own making. To make sure what you wish is what's happening for you in your world. Number one, speak only words and think only thoughts that you want to be in your life. Number two, don't listen, think, or speak, or read limitations of any kind. And number three, don't dwell on past mistakes. Let them pass on by. We're not simply victims of circumstances, because if thoughts help create certain conditions, new thoughts can begin creating new conditions. And that realization can be very empowering. Freedom comes to the individual from understanding the laws of his own life by conforming to them and subjecting them to his use to the end of health, happiness, and success. Here's something simple you can begin doing: paying attention to your thoughts. Notice what you say to yourself during the day. Release all false beliefs, ideas of being poor, limited, or miserable. Number two, don't think failure. Don't doubt your own power. And number three, see only what you want to experience and look at nothing else. Number four, no matter how often old thoughts return, destroy them by knowing they have no power over you. Let them go. Tell them to go. If a thought appears that leads you in a direction you don't want to go, are you not in charge of you? In charge of your life and how you live it? In your life, you are the cause. In your life, you are responsible. Remember, thought is the pattern, mind is the builder. And the life you experience reflects what the mind has been building. So choose your thoughts wisely, because your thoughts are shaping your life every single day. Until next time, Coach Granny says, peace, love, and joy. That's what you are. So be you.